copper tone. Faith reminds us that we shine like gold. So shine on and hold your head up to the sky. The stars are just an extension of us. Stardust that lines our souls. You need love, place yourself in heaven's arms and hold love and hold love and.
You could YouTube this video, What is Reality? I forget the name of the YouTube channel, but let's get it popping. We just gonna hop right into this. Let's go.
I want to tell you about the universe. What it is, how it came to be, what its building blocks are. I want to tell you how the future creates the past, which then creates the future.
Oh, this is about to be good.
But first, I want to tell you about crystals. You might be surprised to know that a crystal isn't an expensive piece of glass or a chandelier in some fancy dining room. The word crystal simply means a pattern that is periodic. Look at this checkerboard pattern. See how it continues to spread out infinitely in each direction? That means it's a periodic pattern. So that's a two-dimensional crystal. This is another two-dimensional crystal.
Look. There it is again. Now remember the other day we was on live talking about hexagonal grids and how this hexagon grid keeps popping up. Most people, when they think of grid, they think of the one they just showed with like squares. But in the King Kong movie, King Kong throws a tree at the dome and it breaks, and there are hexagonal grids and technology all behind the sky. And then in Hunger Games, it was the same thing. Katniss Everdeen shoots an arrow at the sky, at the dome, and breaks it. The whole thing shatters. And I'm pretty sure those were hexagonal grids as well. And now here goes this hexagon grid again. It means something. It's something about it. I know it's going to be important down the line. But let's just keep going. Let's keep rolling.
And this is another. You can also have three-dimensional crystals. By the way, this 3D glass is called crystal because its atoms are actually arranged in a crystalline pattern.
In a crystalline pattern. That's so fire. Also in Hunger Games.
See how I'm projecting this three-dimensional crystal?
Hey, Chicken Little had a hexagonal grid too, like that in the movie. I don't remember Chicken Little, bro. Since I haven't seen it since I was a little kid, and I only maybe seen it once. Now I'm curious. Why is that movie just came up again? Somebody else brought up Chicken Little. Somebody from the spiritual community. Now I gotta watch it. That must be a sign. But all right, let's hop back in.
Crystal to a two-dimensional image on the sand. See how the 2D projection looks distorted because of the angle of the projection? That 2D image also has a pattern, but it isn't periodic. So, it's not a crystal. But there's a deep connection between the 2D object on the sand and the 3D mother crystal. This distorted 2D pattern.
There is a deep connection between the 2D shadow and the 3D mother crystal. Hello. There's something to be said about the fact that this three-dimensional cube is effortlessly casting a two-dimensional shadow. That's the kind of stuff we're about to get into right now in this video right now. We're about to figure out what's up with these dimensions and this matrix.
Is called a quasi-crystal. A quasi-crystal in a certain dimension, in this case 2D, is a projection of a crystal in a higher dimension, in this case 3D. A group of physicists in Los Angeles is working on a new physics theory where a particular 8D crystal,
So already there's something to be said about the fact that shapes can be projected into lower dimensions in the first place, right?
That's right. An 8-dimensional crystal is projected to 4D at a very particular angle.
Synchronicity, she said that's right.
Which forms a 4D quasi-crystal.
Let me go back
and from this is a projection of a crystal in a higher dimension, in this case, 3D. A group of physicists in Los Angeles is working on a new physics theory where a particular 8D crystal, Yep, that's right. An 8-dimensional crystal is projected to 4D at a very particular angle, which forms a 4D quasicrystal. And from this 4D quasicrystal, they derive a 3D quasicrystal, which they believe is the fundamental substructure of all of reality. This 3D quasicrystal has a fundamental building block, a tetrahedron, which is a 3-dimensional equilateral triangle. The size of each edge on this shape is the smallest possible length that can exist. This is called the Planck length. It's 10 to the 35 times smaller than a meter. So you know how your TV screen is broken down into building blocks called pixels?
Of course.
A pixel is the smallest possible indivisible unit of the 2D screen. So think of reality as your TV screen, but in 3D. And think of the tetrahedron as a 3D pixel, the smallest possible indivisible unit of reality. The tetrahedra in the quasicrystal.
Also, I'm going to mention it right now because they won't mention it in this video because it starts to get into the spiritual side of things, even though it's all connected: spirituality, magic, science, physics. It's all the same. They all got the same big questions. But what I was going to say is, in alchemy, the tetrahedron represents the fire element, and all of the Platonic solids represent an element. But the tetrahedron is the only Platonic solid that in itself could be used to make up any of the other Platonic solids. With enough tetrahedrons, you can make any Platonic solid, which lends even more to the idea that the tetrahedron is the pixel. If there is a distance, a length that is the smallest possible length that length can be, that also means that there is a smallest shape. Whatever, the fact that the tetrahedron has equal sides, all equal sides, each of those sides of the tetrahedron could be the Planck length, the smallest distance there is. It just literally mathematically makes sense when you hear it like that. Scientifically, spiritually makes sense that in the same way the 2-dimensional screen is made up of square pixels, that our 3-dimensional screen would also be made up of 3-dimensional pixels. In our case, the tetrahedron, the only 3-dimensional shape that can make up any other 3-dimensional shape. Ooh. Let's keep rolling.
Combine with other tetrahedra using complex mathematical rules to fill up all of the space in the universe.
I'm going to take that back too, but what I was going to say about the elements, the point about the elements. The tetrahedron in alchemy, ancient alchemy, also represents the fire element. And the other Platonic solids represent different elements. Sometimes I think about the Bible, not to put any, I like to study and learn from all religions. I'm not saying that any one of them is more right or wrong than the other, nothing like that. I just think that all of those books teach us something about history, if nothing else, and spirituality. So sometimes I think about the Bible saying, there's something I've heard Christians say where they said that the next time that God destroyed the world, that instead of with a flood, it would be with fire. But maybe destroy is not literal. Maybe it's speaking of the new earth, this new way of living, this new society that we're building that's built upon love, compassion, teamwork, and sustainability. You feel me? Maybe if us becoming aware of these fire element tetrahedrons is what ends an old world. You feel what I'm saying? All right, let's get it popping.
Each tetrahedron only has a few specific states in which it can exist at any given moment. So you know how your TV screen is broken down into building blocks called pixels? A pixel is the smallest possible indivisible unit of the 2D screen. So think of reality as your TV screen, but in 3D. And think of the tetrahedron as a 3D pixel, the smallest possible indivisible unit of reality. The tetrahedra in the quasicrystal combine with other tetrahedra using complex mathematical rules to fill up all of the space in the universe.
Everything.
Each tetrahedron only has a few specific states in which it can exist at any given moment. And because of the rules of how these pixels connect to each other, if one tetrahedron is in a certain state, this dictates the states of many other tetrahedra throughout all of space.
Naturally, a ripple.
But here's the weird thing. If a certain tetrahedron can be in any one of just a few possible states in a given moment, who or what chooses the state it should be in at any given moment?
You.
Well, for such a choice to be made, we need to scientifically, mathematically, and logically bring in a new element into physics.
Which is you.
And that element
Consciousness.
is consciousness. If you're not a scientist, you might be surprised to learn that nobody actually knows the exact value of the speed of light.
Facts. Nobody knows the exact value of the speed of light.
We have a close approximation, but not the exact value. The closest we can get to measuring it has to do with the precision of our machines. But no matter how precise our machines get, we will never be able to measure the exact speed of light.
Do you hear that? The only reason we have any speed that we have given to light is based on what our machines that we made out of light are able to process. For all we know, light is instantaneous. It's not even moving through time. Whoo!
Without a theory that tells us what it is and why it is.
Let's hear that again.
Element?
Say it again, sis.
Is consciousness. If you're not a scientist, you might be surprised to learn that nobody actually knows the exact value of the speed of light.
Nobody.
We have a close approximation, but not the exact value. The closest we can get to measuring it has to do with the precision of our machines. But no matter how precise our machines get, we will never be able to measure the exact speed of light without a theory that tells us what it is and why it is. And none of the current physics theories do that.
None of the current physics theories do that. None of them explain what it is and why it is. None of them. But they're all using the speed of light as a starting point, so many of them. Well, how does that even make sense?
Oh, look, Professor Einstein, you look so cute.
So I look pretty here?
Yes, yes.
No, wait, that's my bad side. But if I go...
Ja, das ist gut.
What if I stick up my tongue like this? Bah!
Sehr gut.
Oh.
Our best physics theories, Einstein's theory of relativity and quantum mechanics, both use the speed of light as a starting point. In other words, they use an inexact measurement of the speed of light without explaining why it is, what it is, or why the universe even has a speed limit in the first place.
Oh, sis, oh my God, they're dropping gems on us. I gotta play that again. Let me just hear that one more time, y'all.
Oh, Professor Einstein, you look so cute.
So I look pretty here?
Yes, yes.
No, wait, that's my bad side. But if I go...
Ja, das ist gut.
What if I stick up my tongue like this? Bah!
Sehr gut.
Oh.
First of all, W video, it's just so beautifully edited and they know exactly how to keep our attention. They give us just enough real facts and just enough entertainment for this is just a W video, I feel like overall, but.
Our best physics theories, Einstein's theory of relativity and quantum mechanics, both use the speed of light as a starting point. In other words, they use an inexact measurement of the speed of light without explaining why it is, what it is, or why the universe even has a speed limit in the first place. We need a new theory.
A theory of everything. I'm working on it right now. I don't know if I'm going to call it narrative theory or the theory of pixelated reality. Simulation theory is already going around and that's just extremely accurate too. So maybe I don't even gotta, but narrative theory, that's what I've been calling it. The idea that reality is a computer generated or an artist generated story, a video game of sorts that is being driven forward by our stories, by the choices that we are making based upon what we decided our stories will be or what our conditions have decided to. Sometimes. Okay, let's keep it rolling.
And such a theory is what the physicists and mathematicians of quantum gravity research in Los Angeles are working on. They call it emergence theory. And it will, really for the first time ever, provide an explanation for the speed of light and the other constants, such
for
as
the first
Planck's
time.
constant and the fine structure constant. Basically, what is needed is a theory of everything, a theory that explains the very fundamental aspects of reality.
We're going to develop that right here together. I'm going to share. I think by the end of this session, that theory will be solid. And I could just post the video and then the theory will be out. You feel what I'm saying? We already kind of dropped it already, what that theory is. We did. All right.
String theory, which once held a lot of promise for possibly being a successful theory of everything, has not made any successful predictions. And regardless of predictions, the theory itself isn't actually a theory of everything. It's just not, because it can't explain the speed of light or the other constants. Quantum mechanics and general relativity, on the other hand, do make good predictions, but they don't explain the fundamental constants either.
Professor Einstein, why does the speed of light have the exact value that it does?
Well, to put it plainly, security!
So what clues does nature offer us for what a theory of everything should look like? We've identified 7. Information, causality loops, non-determinism, consciousness, pixelation, E8 crystal, and the golden ratio.
Okay. So for our theory of everything, or for even if you want to come up with your own, for your theory of everything to be a successful one, what they're saying is that it would include all these points based on what we know about physics. For it to be efficient, it would include all 7. Even though I don't know if I agree with non-determinism, because that's free will. And if this reality is a movie, in the second dimension, there are movies, there are worlds that are movies. They're movies to us, but to those characters, they're living their lives. They feel like they are experiencing choice within their realm, even though it was literally all completely structured by a higher dimension.
A growing number of physicists are saying reality is made of information. What does that even mean?
Yeah, so in the, yep, okay.
Well, information is meaning in the form of symbolism. A language or code provide this kind.
Information is meaning in the form of symbolism. That's wild that what this computer is working off of right now are symbols. The ones and zeros are literally just pictures, but that is enough for the computer to, what is our reality, bro? This place is magic.
Information conveying symbolism.
Everything is just pictures. Then ultimately, everything is just images or pictures. Or
very different type of symbol is one that represents itself. Geometric symbols can do that. A cube can represent love, if we say it does, or it can represent, really with minimal subjectivity, itself. Could there be a language or code made out of geometry? What type of information would such a language express? Quantum physics theory and classical physics indicate that reality is made of information, and there is no evidence that reality is made of anything other than information.
There's no evidence that reality is made of anything other than information. That sounds like a video game to me.
Many physicists agree with this, and many don't. But those that don't agree that reality is made of information have no explanation for what reality is, if it's not information. Gentlemen?
Reality is made of information.
Nope.
Yes, it is made of information.
No.
Okay, so what is it made of if not information?
Energy.
Energy is information.
That's stupid.
Energy is the potential for a particle to change its position. Potential is information. Energy is information.
No.
It's information. Then what is it?
Not information.
Then what is it?
Not information.
Geometric language
Facts.
in the form of geometric symbolism, the type of symbols that represent themselves, might explain how a geometric reality can be made of pure information.
Like a video game or a painting or anything else.
Information implies meaning. But what is meaning? Meaning is a comparison. That's what we do. But we do it so fast we don't realize we're doing it. We look at something and we match it to something from our database. We say, that is a crosswalk. That is a building, not a crosswalk. That is a window, not a building. So meaning is the perception of something relative to something else. So therefore meaning is subjective and requires choice. Can we get some dramatic music here? Because meaning is
subjective and requires choice. For there to even be things to interpret here, for there to even be symbols to see based on all of our physics implies choice. Some level of conscious creation.
Objective. For it to even exist, it needs to be perceived or measured by some form of consciousness.
Hold up, take it back, sis. Take it back. Hold up. Say that again.
Choice. Can we get some dramatic music here? Because meaning is subjective. For it to even exist, it needs to be perceived or measured by some form of consciousness.
You.
Einstein showed
Us.
how the past and the future exist simultaneously in one geometric object. So all time exists all the time. Let me say that again. All time exists all the time. I know that sounds kind of weird and unintuitive, but we have to kind of suspend our common sense.
Yeah,
And
fuck
accept.
the clock. Fuck the clock. It's all... Man, life is not about counting the days. I just don't believe that. I don't believe it anyway. She said all time is happening all the time. Life is about the breath, that cycle, that constant spin of the stars and the sun and moon and the sky and the earth and then us all. But then you feel me? That's about breath, breathing. And breath is not about a clock or a calendar. Breath is about experience.
That mathematically, and according to the best physics formulas we have, that actually makes sense. So,
Let me take that back one more
conscious
time.
all the time. Let me say that again.
I'm gonna just let her
all
smash it
time
again.
exists all the time.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of weird and unintuitive, but we
No.
have to kind of suspend our common sense. And accept that mathematically, and according to the best physics formulas we have, that actually makes sense. So, let's visualize the geometric object that Einstein spoke about as a block. Remember the tetrahedra, the building block pixels of reality I told you about? Now imagine the entire universe, everything, everywhere, in one frozen moment in time. Like a single frame in a movie. In this one frame, all of reality everywhere appears frozen in this one position. Let me give you an analogy. In a movie shot on 35mm film, there are 24 frames a second. There is no actual movement in a movie. There is just a sequence of frozen frames. Now remember how I told you about the Planck length of space, which is the smallest length possible? Well, there is also a Planck length of time, and it is much shorter than 24 frames a second. In fact, it's 10 to the 44 times shorter than a second. Okay, so back to our frozen frame of reality. The entire universe in one frozen moment, one frame. But instead of a frame in a movie, it's a frame in all of reality. Now, imagine the next frame. Each frame is different from the previous one, just like in a movie.
And I think what's moving us from frame to frame is our decisions, our consciousness making choices, and the tetrahedrons changing their position in the next frame based on what we decided to do in the previous frame. Something like that. You feel me? It's something like that is what I'm thinking. All right, okay. that the frames are moved forward and the position of those tetrahedrons change in that next frame based upon conscious beings' choices or conscious decisions. Yeah. We are the consciousness affecting the position of those tetrahedrons. That's what I feel. Oh.
See how
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day. Just you and me.
all frames exist in Einstein space-time all at once? Okay, now here's where things get really, really weird. We assume that the past influences the future. That's how we appear to experience reality. But when you look at this block, why would one side be the past and one side be the future? Why go left to right and not right to left? Why can't the future influence the past? Take away the names past and future if that helps you think of this concept. So what if the past influences the future and the future influences the past in an endless feedback loop?
Which is what any movie or video game is, right? Or any story or book or anything like that in the second dimension. It's an endless feedback loop. Here is the story that was told, the world that was created from it, the characters that are operating it and moving it forward. And every time we reread it or put the DVD back in or press play again on that Netflix movie, it's that feedback loop, that endless feedback loop that is that reality, that two-dimensional reality. Restarting, you feel me, over and over again every time. So for all we know, all of human history has been us, the same group of characters that are alive now, acting out different lives before this, and it's all been the same DVD. Like right now is always right now every time somebody puts the DVD in. You feel me? Okay, all right, let's...
So then, the question is, which part of the past is influencing which part of the future and vice versa?
Everything on
And
everything.
the answer is, all time is affecting all time, all the time.
Hi, I need a drink.
It's all right, Einstein. It's going to be okay. You got this. This is the truth.
Is this even possible? Can me 20 years from now influence me now, just as I influence her? So can me 5 minutes from now influence me 10 minutes ago, just as me 10 minutes ago influences me as a baby, just as me as a baby influences me on my deathbed? This is too weird to even grasp. But everything we know says this is the way it is.
Yeah, that means it is.
Am I stoned?
I...
Okay, so if every moment is co-creating every other moment, both forward and backward in time, then reality would be this massive neural network spanning space and time. This type of network would have one even way stranger quality than anything we've talked about so far. It would be its own creator. But the fact that all
That's not
time
necessarily
exists
true.
all the time does not mean that the future is written in stone, and we're some kind of programmed animation or something.
It might be.
That's what they used to believe, though. Years ago, it was popular to believe in the somewhat bummer idea of reality being a deterministic.
You see how she's calling it a bummer idea? The idea that life is predetermined rather than there being free will. Like, I just think that those two things don't have to conflict. In a video game, you are making choices, but all of the possible choices you can make were predetermined by the creator of that world, of that game, of that reality. So She's saying it's a bummer. It's a bummer idea. The idea of reality having been created and it being more like a movie than a video game. Like the story is what it is, and we're just literally acting it out, even though it feels like we have choices. But there's no proof that she's gonna give what she feels is proof. But I don't know. I don't know that it's proof. I don't think we're gonna see. Let's take this ride together. You feel me? We're taking it together.
Program playing itself out.
Light is
Let me
scattered
take it
by
back one more
electrons
time
and
so I can
bounces.
hear really clear what she said.
But the fact that all time exists all the time does not mean that the future is written in stone and we're some kind of programmed animation or something. That's what they used to believe, though. Years ago, it was popular to believe in the somewhat bummer idea of reality being a deterministic program playing itself out.
Light is scattered by
They used to think the Earth was flat too, and then they stopped, but that came back.
electrons and bounce off electrons.
The famous double-slit experiment ruled out determinism. Look it up if you've never heard of it. It's wild and is one of the cornerstones of modern physics.
But for now, take my word for it. It ruled out determinism and ushered in a new era of non-determinism, or basically, free will.
I think all that the double slit experiment proves is that consciousness is affecting those light particles, those protons. I mean, the particles. Particles are affected by consciousness. They are reacting and responding to consciousness directly, it seems, is what that experiment suggests. Beyond the fact also that it suggests that light is moving as a wave, more than as a... So, it suggests a lot of things, I feel like. But I don't know that it suggests that reality was not absolutely predetermined. It could have been predetermined, even based upon the physics she's sharing.
So, how does free will work?
One of the most surprising discoveries of quantum physics is that reality only exists when it is observed. That literally, particles do not exist until they are observed.
Famous physicist
So maybe I love that she... Okay, so I feel that, because if that is true, if it is true, that makes you think too, right, of the question, that parable of, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody is around to hear it, does it make a sound? And as much as it seems like obviously, yes, it would, it also is obviously true that if nobody's around, nobody can answer that question. It's trippy, right? Sometimes I feel like those kind of parables are like holding reality together in a way. Or that it's the essence of the positive and negative, masculine and feminine, electric versus magnetic pool that is making everything, all these unique little, but all still one. Okay, yep.
John Wheeler. He's the guy who
Ruled out determinism. One of the most surprising discoveries of quantum physics is that reality only...
Yeah, so she said that reality does not exist until it, like, particles don't exist until they are observed. Reality, matter doesn't exist until it is observed. It sounds absurd in a way. And also in my soul feels right. Do y'all feel that? Do y'all resonate with that? Somebody said they lost. I know it's a lot of info, but it's all going, you might have to watch it a few times, but it's a lot of gems being dropped, my friend. I feel it's a lot of truth coming out. It's real. So I get the idea that consciousness is operating. We are conscious and operating and making choices that we are responsible for, and we feel that. So I do want to respect that she's wanting to respect that and honor that we know that, especially off of the idea that matter doesn't exist until we observe it too. Is exactly like a video game. It only renders where it's necessary, right? Right, so to speak. So that makes it more like a video game than a movie or a TV show. It does. Possibly.
exists when it is
Lean
observed.
toward it a little bit.
But literally, particles do not exist until they are observed.
Famous physicist John Wheeler, he's the guy who came up with the term black hole, says that reality is made of information, which is created By observation. The observation must be made, he says, by something conscious.
Observation.
And
must
Nobel
be-
Prize winner
when it is observed.
I'll make sure
When
I
it is
pause if I'm
observed.
singing
That literally
spontaneously.
particles do not exist until they are observed.
Famous physicist John Wheeler, he's the guy who came up with the term black hole, says that reality is made of information, which is created.
Take note of came up with the term black hole. It just feels important. Somebody made that term up, right? To describe, I guess, what they were seeing mathematically. Maybe. Let's see.
By observation. The observation must be made, he says, by something conscious. And Nobel Prize winner
Information is created by observation. And observation must be made by something conscious. Yep. Which also brings it back to the double slit experiment. Because they're using a machine to check those joins to be a reference to consciousness, which has something to be said about artificial intelligence and how aware it is or is not in the first place, if we can use it as a reference for us. But okay, let's get it popping.
Frank Wilczek said that quantum theory is contentious and obscure, and that it will remain that way until someone constructs, within the formalism of quantum mechanics, an observer, a model entity whose states correspond to a recognizable caricature of conscious awareness. An entity, an observer.
Let's hear
And
that.
Nobel Prize winner Frank Wilczek said that quantum theory is contentious and obscure, and that it will remain that way until someone constructs, within the formalism of quantum mechanics, an observer, a model entity whose states correspond to a recognizable caricature of conscious awareness.
So what they're saying is quantum theory will always kind of be open-ended until someone comes up with a theory that satisfies there being an observer to reality in the first place, that also satisfies quantum mechanics, which is what we're using to make the computers and stuff like that, right? Which is like undeniable how the computers are working, you know? Video game. God, mom, God, dad came together and created a video game for their kids. That's what I'm thinking. To enjoy, even though it got real messy and people started killing each other because we're ridiculous. We forgot that we're all pretty much just siblings playing. We came to play this game together. But there's, you know, honestly, we it's going to get better. It's about to get better like real soon. Okay.
An entity, an observer. So Frank Wilczek is basically talking about an entity, not necessarily a human being or an animal, that is capable of generating information by observing and measuring. But what would that conscious entity be?
Human and animal does apply. Again, that brings it right back to my original point. My theory of saying that the story is being moved forward, the narrative is being moved forward, the tetrahedrons are changing their position from frame to frame based upon what we, consciousness, are choosing to do right now. You feel me? Yeah. So, quantum we are literally here, physically here. That's easy to prove that we're affecting those tetrahedrons. Especially if you see my videos.
Well, we
Not just mine, Senpai Kai's, Michael Grubbs, Master Dariush over in Iran. Love you, bro. You feel me? We out here. Everybody, we training.
definitely know that consciousness exists in the universe. I mean, at least in us humans, right? I mean, I'm conscious. You're conscious. He's conscious. I think.
I'm conscious.
I love that they're now look, oh, how fire that is. That this is right here. You're looking at me and I am a 3-dimensional character. And this is a scene of two-dimensional characters. And somebody who is an ignorant person would say that these people are not conscious because they were created or drawn. And we, just because we know exactly where they came from, because we made them, that they are not conscious. But he's screaming it out loud. He obviously believes it. This little two-dimensional version of Albert Einstein. I'm conscious. I'm conscious. If you think you're more conscious than him, I think that haven't seen the evidence for that yet. Let me hear
Consciousness
him say it one more
relates deeply to
time.
physics in ways not yet. Consciousness
That's the
exists
only
in the
difference, is
universe.
that their reality is so easily
Consciousness
affected by
exists in the
ours,
universe.
because I can just play his whole life again. For him, this beautiful
Conscious.
Trippy, yo.
Consciousness
It's
relates
trippy
deeply to
true.
physics in ways
Trippy
not
but
yet
true.
fully understood.
I'm sorry, hold
In
on.
fact, consciousness is
My
kind
bad,
of
my bad.
Consciousness relates deeply to physics in ways not yet fully understood. In fact, consciousness is kind of like one of the least understood things in all of science. Nobody knows exactly what it is. Weird, right?
It's pretty cool.
So if reality is pure
It's all
information,
on the same page.
if everything, energy, matter, thought, if it's all information, then it becomes clear that reality deeply ties into consciousness in some way. As if the fundamental stuff of reality is somehow consciousness. Did consciousness and information somehow emerge in a causality feedback loop?
A movie?
German physicist Werner Heisenberg developed the first equations of quantum mechanics using a type of math called
Funny thing is, it's happening right now. This video is a small, isolated version of that same feedback loop, because whoever is watching this video right now, you're watching it right now, but I recorded it when I recorded it, even though you're watching it now. You feel me? Like I'm now again. Like it's now again. Like we're doing then, now. You feel me? For those people watching it later. Okay.
matrix theory. He deduced that space and time were pixelated into indivisible
The video itself, by the time it's on YouTube, it will be a feedback loop, is what I'm saying, but one that we can continue to experience.
three-dimensional Planck length units, just like the two-dimensional pixels on your computer screen.
It's good to be made of pixels.
The mathematics indicated this.
Mathematics. I love mathematics.
Your pizza, professor.
And pizza. Oh, I love pizza. Especially pixelated pizza.
And interestingly, there was no solid experimental
chicken tender-
evidence for smooth. In other words, not pixelated.
This chicken tender is vegan. I'm gonna just take it back a little bit, but I wanted y'all to know that. It's a vegan tender.
Oh, I love pizza. Especially pixelated pizza.
Which doesn't make it great, because it's thank you, my friend, though, which doesn't make it great because it's still processed shit, I'm sure, but it's definitely better for the chicken.
And interestingly, there was no solid experimental evidence for smooth. In other words, not pixelated space-time.
Pizza.
Not pixelated. Not pixelated. Pixelated.
We are not pixelated.
Not pixelated.
Yes, you are, morons.
Your mother is pixelated.
This
It's funny because they're screaming we're not pixelated, but we know they literally are. For a fact, we know the second dimension, those characters are, square pixels make up their reality, their screen, the two-dimensional screen.
is
So maybe the whole multi-dimensional structure, the whole multi-dimensional construct from dimensions 1 to 9 or 12 or whatever, maybe they're all just screens or something like that, but based upon whether you're in it or not, you experience, because they're all made of different pixels though. All right, we got a lot to learn. It's still a lot to learn and to understand, but that's what we're doing. That's what we're here for.
No, there is no evidence of that. And the mathematics show it is pixelated, so it must be pixelated.
oh, that's interesting. Bullshit.
It must be pixelated.
Bullshit, 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 bullshit.
On the other hand, most scientists agree that a length can be no shorter than the Planck length, which suggests reality is pixelated.
There is no length shorter than the Planck length.
That means reality is pixelated.
Because that means that there is a shape of that length. If there is ever a line, there is a shape that can be made out of lines of that size. And so if there is a shortest length, if there is for sure a shortest amount of length something can be long, there would be a shape of that what to call it. There would be a shape of that size as well. I don't know if I should say frequency or of that realm. Yeah.
I'm not pixelated! I'm not!
Dude, you're kind of being a little like one of those people who deny
Planck lengths, which suggests reality is pixelated.
There is no length shorter than the Planck length.
That means reality is pixelated.
I'm not pixelated! I'm not!
Dude, you're kind of being a little like one of those people who deny evolution because they can't handle the fact their ancestors were monkeys. Are you?
Hey, if reality is pixelated, we don't know that our ancestors was monkeys. For all we know, if reality is pixelated, if reality is a movie, a simulation, a holographic projection of sorts, for all we know, it started today. Like this is the first day it ever was. And all the memories of before today were just written. For all we know, this is the first day anybody's ever played the video game. So for all we know, any theories about evolution have all just been theories because the video game was made yesterday in the way that we are still only just figuring out. Okay, let's get it.
Monkey, huh? Are you a little monkey?
We believe that until a quantum gravity theory of pixelated spacetime is discovered, the issue will remain confusing for everyone.
What type of geometric code would describe a pixelated reality? 80 years of smashing particles together in particle accelerators, such as the famous Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, have given us a strange clue that all the fundamental particles and forces convert into one another. Like they literally transform from one to the other, according to a process called gauge symmetry transformation. And all of these conversions correspond.
Gauge symmetry transformation. Wait, what does she say turns into particles?
Like they literally transform. What type of geometric code would describe a pixelated reality? 80 years of smashing particles together in particle accelerators, such as the famous Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, have given us a strange clue that all the fundamental particles and forces convert into one another. Like they literally transform from one to the other, according to a process called gauge symmetry transformation.
So the atoms that make up gold and the atoms that make up silver become either gold or silver under certain circumstances. Oh, shit balls.
And all of these conversions correspond to a shape. And not just any shape, an 8-dimensional shape. Now this shape forms a crystal. Now remember, crystals are periodic patterns of a certain shape. Like that checkerboard is a 2D crystal made up of squares. So this crystal is of a particular 8-dimensional shape. And this crystal is known as the E8 lattice. To generate that 3D quasicrystal, the substructure at the pixelated fabric of reality, we project this 8D crystal to 4D. And then we convert that to 3D. Now, just like the basic cell shape of the 3D cubic lattice is the cube, The cell shape of the E8 lattice is an 8D shape with 240 vertices. We call it the Gaussian polytope. When the Gaussian polytope is projected to 4D, it becomes two identical shapes of different sizes. The ratio of their sizes is a unique number, 0.618, also known as the golden ratio.
What is that added up? 8, 9, 1, 5, 6. Yup, I should have known. Oh. The golden ratio is like a, but it, oh. Yeah, that's how it feels.
The golden ratio may be the fundamental constant of nature. It is a ratio that is fundamental to circumscribed equilateral triangles, and it's weirdly ubiquitous in the universe, appearing everywhere from the quantum to celestial scales. Ever so interestingly, it appears in black holes.
I don't want to fly into a black hole. I wish I never realized your existence.
Black hole theory. But maybe.
Okay, let's get serious for a second. Here are 3 quick facts for you science heads. The golden ratio is the precise point where a black hole's modified specific heat changes from positive to negative. And it is part of the equation for the lower bound on black hole entropy. The golden ratio even relates the loop quantum.
Let me hear that again.
Precise point where a black hole's
Want to fly into a black hole. I wish I never realized your existence.
Okay, let's get serious for a second. Here are 3 quick facts for you science heads. The golden ratio is the precise point where a black hole's modified specific heat changes from positive to negative. And it is part of the equation for the lower bound on black hole entropy. The golden ratio even relates the loop quantum gravity parameter to black hole entropy. Why does this support the claim that the golden ratio is the fundamental constant of nature?
Hold up, my good sis.
To negative.
Slow down for us. Hold up.
Serious for a second. Here are 3 quick facts for you science heads. The golden ratio is the precise point where a black hole's modified specific heat changes from positive to negative. And it is part of the equation.
The golden ratio is the precise point where a black hole's modified specific heat changes from positive to negative. Bro, reality could be what modern science is referring to as a black hole. A point of neutrality from which immediately always through choices which are positive and negative, be constantly modifying the heat of that black hole. Dang, sorry, it came out so choppy, y'all. I'm like putting it together. She said the golden ratio is the precise point where a black hole's modified specific heat changes from negative to positive. What if what modern science is referring to as a black hole is what this is where we're at? And it is why everything operates off the golden ratio. Why that spiral exists in everything from the fruit to the pine cones to the plants to the flowers, and how they look to our hands and fingers, and that number shows up everywhere. That shows up everywhere. If you look up the golden ratio, a quick Google search, and you'll realize it's everywhere. So what if we are a plane, of existence in the middle of what modern science has been referring to as a black hole, a point where the heat of it, the modified specific heat, as she referred to it, of it is constantly changing from positive to negative based upon the choices of the conscious beings operating that space. And then it could just be, or something like that. You feel me? All right. That's where I'm thinking. I'm just being transparent with y'all, but obviously I don't got all the. We looking for the answers. It's not always even about finding the answers, but well, no, that is what it is. That's why we're here. We want to know what's up, where we at, what's going on, what we.
For the lower bound on black hole entropy.
Hold on, so say all that one more time, please. I saved it too because I feel like that's what.
Okay, let's get serious for a second. Here are 3 quick facts for you science heads. The golden ratio is the precise point where a black hole's modified specific heat changes from positive to negative. And it is part of the equation for the lower bound on black hole entropy. The golden ratio even relates the loop quantum gravity parameter to black hole entropy.
Why does this support the claim that the golden ratio is the fundamental constant of nature? Because a theory of everything must unite general relativity with quantum mechanics. And a black hole is where these two theories converge at their limits.
I just cracked it then. We are in a black hole then. So modern science heads. Oh, sorry, I don't want to wake my mom up. She got work tomorrow. Modern science heads. Y'all let me know. Modern day science people that Neil deGrasse Tyson. This is a black hole. Prove me wrong. Prove me otherwise, that this is not what black hole physics and quantum mechanics. Hold on, let me say it again. Hold on, because I'm gonna get this right. Now before I call you out all the way, let me make sure I say it crisp. Hold up. Much love, no disrespect, but I mean it though too.
To negative. And it is part of the equation for the lower bound on black hole entropy. The golden ratio even relates the loop quantum gravity parameter to black hole entropy.
Why does this support the claim that the golden ratio is the fundamental constant of nature? Because a theory of everything must unite general relativity with quantum mechanics.
A theory of everything must unite general relativity and quantum mechanics, and none of our theories have done that yet. A theory of everything must unite general relativity with quantum mechanics. And a black hole is where these two things converge at their limits via the golden ratio. I think I cracked it, my friends. This is a black hole. Or what modern science has been referring to as a black hole. Maybe that's a horrible name for it. But what physics keeps calling that is this place. Maybe that's a spell, huh? Maybe somebody called it that on purpose so we feel like we in hell all the time. The point is, forget the shape of it. That's just another shape. Flat, ball, hole. The point is, this is that. This here, this space, occupied by we conscious beings, satisfies beautifully the idea of perfectly merging quantum mechanics and general relativity. Want to take it one step further, nobody can prove that it's not a video game that is built to be exactly that. Okay, all right, let's keep going.
And a black hole is where these two theories converge at their limits. Okay, so bear with me through some really weird math right now, and I'll reward you with some amazing footage of John Malkovich getting a pie in the face. There's a type of mathematics called matrix mathematics. No, not that type of matrix. Matrix math is the type of math that quantum physics uses in its formulas. Without getting too technical, this is an example of a matrix. A matrix is just a group of numbers that are arranged in columns and rows.
Like ones
and there's
zeros.
A certain amount of combinations for these numbers inside the matrix. Like if a matrix has 4 numbers inside it, there are 24 different possible combinations for those 4 numbers. Quantum mechanics uses matrices that are binary, so they only contain various combinations of 2 numbers. Each of these combinations of numbers has a value. It's called an eigenvalue. Some eigenvalues are called trivial. These are values like 1, 2, and 0.
1, 2.
And some are called non-trivial. And those are all sorts of more complex-looking numbers. So, here's the interesting part.
Okay.
Where's that interesting part? Oh, yes, here. The highest probability non-trivial eigenvalues that show up in binary matrices are, ready for this? The golden ratio and -1 over the golden ratio. So we now see a deep link between black holes and quantum mechanics because the golden ratio appears deeply in both black hole physics and in quantum mechanics.
Because reality is a computer that was created by a creator, bro. It satisfies it so beautifully if we just stop fighting it.
Okay. Good job bearing with me. So, here's your reward. John Malkovich getting a pie in the face.
No, no. But I'm not John Malkovich.
Pie!
The golden ratio appears to startling accuracies in many other ways throughout the universe in scales both large and small. It is so prevalent that its existence simply cannot be looked at as coincidental. In the past, the appearance of this ratio has usually been ignored by scientists because they had no way to explain it. So interest in it was considered the stuff of amateur scientists. But now, for the first time, a rigorous quantum gravity theory is being developed, which predicts the golden ratio's existence, literally, everywhere.
So what would a theory of everything look like that answers these 7 clues we just presented?
Let's see.
Information.
Let's see. Before she gives us these again, she's going to tell us the 7 things again that would make up a solid theory of everything. And we're going to see if a video game or, let's go with video game for now, because that seems to satisfy even all of her points as well. Let's see if a video game satisfies these 7 elements.
They're the stuff of amateur scientists. But now, for the first time, a rigorous quantum gravity theory is being developed, which predicts the golden ratio's existence, literally, everywhere.
So what would a theory of everything look like that answers these 7 clues we just presented? Information.
Do video games have information? Yes.
Causality loops.
Is a video game a causality loop? Yes. Whatever is on the disk when you put it in the system, there's only what's on that disk. Yes, choices can be made, but not beyond the confines of what the disk literally can present on a screen. You feel me? Straight like that. That's real. Causality loop check. Video game checks that.
Non-determinism.
Video game definitely checks non-determinism, the idea of free will. Now, obviously, a video game is still created by a creator, so choices are limited, but choice is very real even in a video game. And especially going off of the most important points of this video, well, they were lots of, it's full of important points. But especially as it involves the tetrahedrons being the pixel of the 3rd dimension. It just only makes sense that if there are pixels of the 2nd dimension, that there would be pixels of the 3rd dimension. And if the 2nd dimension is created by 3-dimensional characters, if the 2-dimensional Harry Potter world was created by 3-dimensional J.K. Rowling, you feel what I'm saying? Then who's to say that this reality was not also created by a creator? That just because we experience choice, that it wasn't still created by creators.
Consciousness. Pixelation.
I say creators because mom and dad. Straight like that.
E8 crystal and the golden ratio.
So we think reality is a mosaic-like code or language at the smallest scale of reality possible, which is called the Planck length. Particle accelerator data tells us that all particles and forces relate to one another according to a higher dimensional crystal called the E8 lattice.
All of them?
But reality relate to one another.
Say that again. All?
Smallest scale of reality possible, which is called the Planck length. Particle accelerator data tells us that all particles and forces relate to one another according to a higher dimensional crystal called the E8 lattice.
all particles and forces relate to each other through this one 8-dimensional shape? For all we know, there is literally something in the 8th dimension literally projecting our reality and the dimensions beneath it or within it or something like that.
Yes.
Imagine that reality is a ball, a dome above a bowl of land and water, and the dimensions are within the. Oh, so things may be more. What is going on? We won't get to. I don't want to theorize. I don't want to theorize too much. We're trying to find the facts. I'm thinking of the idea, though, that it seems pretty undeniable at this point that our reality is a ball, but not us on a ball like NASA says. That it's a dome over top of a bowl filled with land and water, and that we occupy the horizon, the eye level, the middle, the golden ratio, flatland in between that. For whatever reason, we're lucky enough, I guess, or blessed enough, or the kind of people that would jump into a game like this too. I don't know. But so in terms of the shape and the dimensions, thinking of the idea of them saying, because a ball is still a reflection of the circle, and the E8 lattice too still, at least from here, looks like a very complex circle. All we can understand of it is the zona pellucida. The circumference around it that's making it a circle is the only real graspable thing for most people. So I'm wondering if that, what if the outermost layer of the ball, that dome over the, I used to feel like maybe we are the third dimension inside that ball, under the dome, on top of a bowl of water and land. And that outside of the dome, from the flat land, outside the dome is the fourth dimension, and that underneath us is the second. That it was like, but maybe it's more like, because the second dimension is literally right there in the TV. I'm pointing at my TV screen when I do that. Sorry. But yeah, I'm pointing at my TV screen. But what I'm saying is that the second dimension is held within our TV screens. It's made of squares and it's held within a square, funny enough. So maybe it's about shapes. Maybe because we're within this one, that's why we be arguing about what shape it is, because from within it, it's hard to tell what the shape is. But from outside the second dimension, we know exactly what shape their reality is. It's a square, a TV screen, or even if it was a painting, usually that's also, you feel me? And it's made of pixels, which are squares as well. So I'm just wondering if maybe there are levels within this structure, like under, how to say this, yo? Oh, snap. How to say this. Oh, snap. Let's just roll. Let's keep it rolling for now. See what flows.
But reality appears to be 3D. So we project a slice of this E8 crystal. So we think reality is a mosaic-like code or language at the smallest scale of reality possible, which is called the Planck length. Particle accelerator data tells us that all particles and forces relate to one another according to a higher dimensional crystal called the E8 lattice.
It's crazy. Oh, a higher dimensional crystal. So it's not even a shape, it's a pattern. Remember, the crystal is the grid. A grid, a checkerboard grid, or the hexagonal grid. Any not any shape can make a crystal because it's ever repeating. It can go in every direction nonstop for all of existence. A checkerboard pattern, I'm saying, a collection of squares, which is kind of what makes up the second dimension, right? So every reality is made up of a pattern and is also a quasi-crystal, a projection of the pattern above it. That's what it feels like, or something like that. Oh my God. Come on, science people. We got a lot to work with. Like, what's up? Where we at?
Reality appears to be 3D.
Not just science people, everybody. We're all scientists, obviously, straight like that. At this point, if you made it to this point in the video, that means that you caught up as any other scientist about the facts of what's going on here and what everybody don't know yet. So let's get it popping. You are now a scientist like anybody else.
So we project a slice of this E8 crystal down to 3D, which produces a quasi-crystal code or language. And that allows these geometric symbols.
I meant to finish calling out Neil deGrasse Tyson as well. My friend, please approve to me that reality is not what modern physics has been saying is what a black hole is.
To build up to the ordinary.
Which is not to say that I agree that that's a good name for it. I'm just saying. Yeah. It's time.
World of particles and forces that we see around us. Now, this geometric language has rules, but it also has syntactical freedom like any language. And that requires some notion of a chooser to choose the free steps in the language. Now, the notion of randomness doesn't work so well when it comes to codes because meaning starts to break down. Besides, there's no decent experimental evidence for randomness in nature in the first place.
There is no decent experimental evidence for randomness in the first place. They're saying that the fact that we cannot prove that reality is not simply made of information suggests observation, and that becomes less and less random the more patterns we start to see. It's straight like that. Oh, snap, yo. How many hexagons do you know were drawn by accident? And also, think of how many places you find them in nature. Drawn by accident. And also, how many do you think? Sorry. I'm gonna keep it crisp. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking. All right, okay. I'll be fucking up sometimes. I'm a work in progress, you feel me? We all learning.
A universal collective consciousness is one answer, but that sounds new age and religious. Now, nowadays, a good number of physicists discuss the idea that our whole universe is actually a code-based simulation in some fantastically powerful quantum computer in another universe. Now, if true, then by the same logic, that other universe, where the computer running the simulation of our universe is, would also supposedly be a simulation in another universe. So the idea is a little shaky, but it's being discussed seriously by a lot of credible people. But it turns out that a universal collective-like consciousness of some sort may be physically inevitable. Now, we don't need to anthropomorphize this idea or make it religious or spiritual.
You can't not make it spiritual, bro. You can't not make it, it's spiritual. It's accidentally spiritual, bro.
To follow why, let us start with the idea of the collective behavior of cells in your body, each a single-celled microbe living its life. A long time ago, only this sort of cellular life form existed here on Earth. These little guys were not too smart, but they did choose what direction to swim and could chase nutrients, reproduce, and run from dangerous things. They made choices with their very simple systems of environmental awareness and desire to survive. Then they self-organized into colonies that were smarter as a group and had more environmental awareness than the individuals.
There is no denying we are made up of a bunch of, well, that's what we're taught. We're made up of a bunch of
Eventually, animals such as humans emerged. Sophisticated forms of awareness and consciousness now float on an ocean of 37 trillion living cells, self-organized as a human being. It is specifically the laws of physics that caused electrons and quarks to self-organize into 81 stable atoms, and from there, into human consciousness. And physics places no upper limit on the amount of energy and matter that can self-organize into conscious systems.
Physics allows the possibility of all the energy in the universe to eventually convert into a single conscious system that is itself a network of other conscious systems, a massive, technologically based collective consciousness.
Given enough time, anything that can happen will eventually happen. By this axiom, this system of universal consciousness has already emerged somewhere in the frames of space-time ahead of us. Because it is possible, it is inevitable. In fact, according to the evidence of retrocausality time loops, that inevitable future is co-creating us right now, just as we are co-creating it.
When humanity discovers the theory of everything, it will usher in a new age of prosperity. For example, clean, cheap energy, leading to the eventual elimination of poverty. As a nonprofit, Quantum Gravity Research relies on crowdfunding to support our scientific progress. Even a $5 donation is meaningful and moves this mission forward. To participate in the adventure, visit quantumgravityresearch.org and click on Support Our Work. And please spread the word by sharing and posting this video, and follow the journey on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit quantumgravityresearch.org to get more information.
And hold your head up to the sky, your head up to the sky. The stars are just an extension of us. Stardust that lines our souls. You need love, place yourself in heaven's arms and hold love and hold love and